The F-4 Phantom II was not elegant in the way people often imagine a fighter. It was large, smoky, heavy, and built around power, radar, missiles, and payload. Yet that direct, muscular design made it one of the defining combat aircraft of the Cold War. The Phantom served with the United States Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, and many Allied air arms. It began as a carrier interceptor and became a fighter, bomber, reconnaissance aircraft, and test of an entire era's air combat assumptions. The McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II was a twin-engine, two-seat, supersonic military jet built by McDonnell Aircraft, later McDonnell Douglas, in the United States. It first flew on May 27, 1958, and entered U.S. Navy service in 1961 after carrier trials and fleet evaluation. Its original role was fleet air defense, but its speed, radar, crew arrangement, and payload made it useful far beyond that mission. It served with the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, Japan, Israel, Iran, Greece, Turkey, South Korea, and other countries. Depending on variant, it operated as an interceptor, air superiority fighter, fighter bomber, reconnaissance platform, and suppression aircraft. By any practical measure, the Phantom was not one aircraft story. It was a family of aircraft that shaped how air forces moved from guns and manual fighting toward missiles, sensors, and multi-role operations. The Phantom was built because the U.S. Navy needed a powerful all-weather interceptor able to protect carriers against high-speed threats at longer range than earlier fighters could manage. McDonnell first developed the concept from earlier naval fighter studies, then refined it into a two-seat aircraft with strong radar, two engines, and missile armament. At the time, many planners believed future air combat would be decided by radar detection and guided missiles before pilots closed to gun range. The F-4 reflected that belief. It entered Navy service before becoming attractive to the U.S. Air Force, which adopted the type as the F-4C and then developed later variants. The Vietnam War exposed both the strengths and limits of that concept. Missiles were useful, but identification rules, reliability, training, and close-range maneuvering still mattered. The Phantom's career forced air forces to improve tactics, weapons, schools, and crew coordination. The F-4 Phantom II used two General Electric J79 turbojet engines, giving it high speed, strong climb, and the ability to carry a heavy combat load. It could exceed Mach 2 at altitude, and its rugged structure was suitable for carrier operations in naval versions. The aircraft carried two crew members, a pilot and a radar intercept officer or weapons systems officer, depending on service and variant. The second crew member managed radar, navigation, sensors, intercept work, and weapons employment, reducing workload in complex missions. The Phantom's wing used noticeable anhedral on the tailplanes and dihedral at the outer wing panels to manage stability and control. It was not a small dogfighter, but it had energy, acceleration, and payload. Its internal fuel, external tanks, and refueling capability supported long missions, while reconnaissance variants carried specialized cameras in place of normal fighter equipment. The Phantom's weapons and systems changed across its long service life. Early aircraft relied on missiles such as the AIM-7 Sparrow and AIM-9 Sidewinder, matched with radar systems intended for beyond visual range interception. U.S. Air Force combat in Vietnam showed that a cannon was still valuable, leading to gun pods and later the F-4E with an internal 20mm M61 Vulcan cannon. The aircraft could also carry bombs, rockets, cluster munitions, anti-radiation missiles, and precision weapons as upgrades matured. Reconnaissance RF-4 variants carried camera systems instead of fighter radar or weapons. The Phantom's main capability was flexibility before the term multi-role became routine. It could escort strike packages, fight intercepts, attack ground targets, perform reconnaissance, and carry electronic warfare or suppression equipment. Its limitations were real, but its ability to lift useful payload at high speed made it valuable in many force structures. The F-4 Phantom II saw extensive operational service. In the Vietnam War, it flew with the U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force in fighter, strike, and reconnaissance roles. It achieved air-to-air victories, absorbed losses, and revealed problems in missile reliability and air combat training. Those lessons helped drive programs such as the Navy's Fighter Weapons School and broader improvements in tactics. Israeli Phantoms saw major combat during the War of Attrition, the Yom Kippur War, and later regional conflicts, often in demanding strike and air defense environments. Iranian F-4s served during the Iran-Iraq War, while other countries used the Phantom for deterrence, air defense, and reconnaissance during the Cold War and after. Germany, Japan, Greece, Turkey, and South Korea kept variants in service for decades. The aircraft's operational history is therefore global, varied, and too complex for simple legend. It was tested by real wars, real maintenance systems, and different national doctrines. The Phantom's strengths and advantages were speed, power, payload, range, and adaptability. It could carry heavy weapons and fuel while still performing fighter missions. 2 engines gave redundancy and thrust, while 2 crew members made radar and strike tasks more manageable. It was strong enough for carrier service and versatile enough for land-based air forces. The Phantom also had growth room. It accepted new radars, warning receivers, cameras, electronic warfare equipment, and weapons across decades. Its large production base and international use created a deep support and upgrade ecosystem. Most importantly, the F-4 forced air forces to become more professional about missile-era combat. Its success depended not only on the airplane, but on training, tactics, weapon reliability, and coordination. The Phantom's weaknesses and limitations were just as important. Early versions lacked an internal gun, a choice that became controversial in close-range combat. The aircraft was large and could be visually obvious, especially with the smoke trail associated with J-79 engines. It was powerful but not naturally light or simple, and pilots had to manage energy carefully in maneuvering fights. Missile performance in Vietnam did not match optimistic expectations, and rules of engagement often reduced the value of long-range radar shots. Maintenance demands were significant, especially as aircraft aged and equipment became more complex. The Phantom could do many jobs, but it was not optimized for all of them. Later fighters brought better agility, sensors, cockpit design, engines, and reliability. For historical context, the F-4 Phantom II should be read as a product of a specific requirement, not as an isolated machine. It was built by McDonnell Aircraft for United States, with the intended role of interceptor, fighter bomber, reconnaissance aircraft. Its first flight is recorded as May 27, 1958, and its service entry is recorded as 1960. Those dates matter because they place the aircraft inside the technology, doctrine, budget pressure, and threat assumptions of its era. The technical story also depends on how the airframe connected structure, propulsion, systems, and crew workload. Key recorded details include engine choice, wing layout, range, speed, radar or sensor fit, weapons integration, avionics, and maintainability. In practical terms, an aircraft is never just an engine or a wing. Range, speed, radar, sensors, targeting equipment, weapons, avionics, fuel capacity, maintenance access, and mission planning all decide whether the design can do useful work repeatedly. The operational record of the F-4 Phantom II is tied to Vietnam War, Arab-Israeli conflicts, Iran-Iraq War, Gulf War. Those examples show how the aircraft performed away from brochures and test figures. Combat service, patrol work, reconnaissance, training, deterrence, and deployment tempo all reveal different truths. A design that looks strong on paper still depends on crews, spare parts, weather, basing, intelligence, rules of engagement, and the ability to return for another sortie. The main strength of the F-4 Phantom II was mission focus, useful performance for its era, and adaptability within its intended role. That strength did not mean perfection. It meant the aircraft gave commanders a useful answer to a real problem. The best way to judge it is to ask what mission it made easier, what earlier limitation it solved, and whether operators kept trusting it after the first years of service. The main weakness and limitation of the F-4 Phantom II was cost, maintenance burden, survivability limits, and eventual obsolescence as threats and technology changed. Its later status is best summarized as retired by U.S. services. Some international use continued later. Every military aircraft eventually needs newer sensors, newer missiles, changed budgets, aging structures, and different doctrine. That is why the final verdict has to balance reputation against evidence, what the aircraft promised, what it actually delivered, and what it cost to keep useful. The legacy of the F-4 Phantom II is that it bridged 2 eras. It came from a missile interceptor vision, but its combat record taught air forces that technology needs training, doctrine, and practical backup systems. It is retired from U.S. frontline service, though some countries kept upgraded Phantoms active much longer. The verdict is clear: the Phantom was imperfect, demanding, and sometimes misunderstood, but it was one of the most important military aircraft of the Cold War. Subscribe to Aero Archive for more precise, objective documentaries on the aircraft that shaped aviation history.